Do you know what method you could use to prove that the system actually exists? Asking your mother? A research paper? Or maybe a stamp that only you can see? To be honest, with any of these methods, you still wouldn't really know whether the system actually exists or not. This is the story of our main character, Ling Ran, who is going to become the greatest doctor in the world. Ling Ran is a medical student who is extremely genius, and he is also very famous in his college. However, the things Ling Ran is currently experiencing, only he knows about them. He is able to see a system that nobody else can see except him. And this really confuses him. He feels like he must be seriously sick, and that some illness is forcing him to see this system. Since Ling Ran is a medical student, he only believes in science. If you're new to this channel, then please make sure to subscribe to it. Please. Anyway, now let's start the video. At the beginning of the story, Ling Ran is sitting on a train, and he is on his way to Yuhua Hospital. During the journey, there are a lot of things running through his mind related to the system. Ran is confused about what exactly this window is that he keeps seeing in front of his eyes. If this really is a system, then what proof is there for that? Ran is a medical student at Yuhua Hospital, and he trusts science more than theory. That's why he wants to find out using scientific methods whether this system window he is seeing is actually real or just an illusion. As soon as he reaches Yuhua Hospital, Ran first gets a physical examination done. His physical report comes back completely normal. After seeing that his physical report is normal, Rand thinks that now he should also get psychological tests done, so he goes to his college, Yuhua Medical College. Inside the college campus, a lot of girls see him. Since Rand is very popular, all the girls look at him, take his photos, and talk about how he is not only handsome, but also extremely genius. But Rand doesn't care about these girls at all. He is still thinking about why nobody else can see this system window except him. From the gate to the college campus, he has already seen 108 people, but not even one of them saw the system window that only Rand can see. Rand now stops walking. He looks at the system window, which is telling him to collect his beginner pack, and up until now, Rand still hasn't collected his beginner pack because he thinks this is just an illusion, and to prove that, he is getting all of these medical tests done. Rand thinks that things like this only appear in novels or comics. He feels that because of stress, or maybe a mental illness, he is seeing this system window. Ran had already filled out a professional test form earlier, and now he is only waiting for the final test sheet result. To collect that final result sheet, he goes to the laboratory. There, Ran knocks on the laboratory door, and a female staff member comes out, angrily asking who is there. But as soon as she sees Ran, she immediately goes back inside, then returns again and happily welcomes him. Ran tells his senior that he came there to use their equipment. She tells him that he doesn't need to be that polite. The funny thing is, his senior actually has a crush on him, but poor Rand doesn't care at all which girl has a crush on him and which one doesn't. He only cares about his work. His senior invites him inside and asks him to sit on a chair. Then she asks him how he is feeling. Rand replies that he is fine, but he asks why she is asking that. His senior tells him that earlier that morning, Rand had gotten a CT and MRI test done, and she accidentally overheard it, so she was just checking if he was okay. But actually, that's a lie, because normally when someone has a crush, they already know everything about that person, since they stalk them so much. Rand's senior nervously hides the fact that she found out through stalking. Rand then tells his senior that he wanted to write something, and that's why he took so many tests. Rand now asks his senior what the CT scan report says. Nervously, she gives him the wrong kind of answer and says things like, "Very great, excellent, very energetic, very young, no problem this." Ran only hears the phrase "no problem," and he doesn't care at all about what else she said about him. He keeps thinking that people say some people naturally have good minds, but there must be something wrong with him since he is seeing this system. Ran then points at the machine he came here to use. His senior explains to him that this machine has statistical software which can tell whether his test results are normal or not. After that, Rand's senior teaches him how to use the machine. And since she has some work to do, she tells Rand that now that he has learned how it works, he can check his own test results himself. Once she leaves, Rand takes the psychology test sheets out of his bag and starts entering the test data, step by step, into the computer. Then he finally starts calculating everything to see whether all the data entries match so he can find out whether he actually has any mental illness. The computer slowly starts calculating all the data. During that time, Ran thinks that cross verification is a scientific method used to prove whether a theory or piece of information is wrong. After some time, Ran finally receives his test report and he finds out that he is mentally completely normal. This means that the system in front of him is completely real. Without wasting any more time, Ran opens the newbie pack shown on the system. Inside the newbie pack, Ran receives a master level suturing technique. Here, suturing and stitching basically mean the same thing suturing is just the medical term. But Ran is not happy with the gift at all. He thinks it's just a suturing technique. What's so special about that? The system tells him that this suturing technique is actually made up of 6 different suturing techniques combined together, meaning, with the master level suturing technique, he can use 6 different suturing methods. Even after the system explains this, Rand still isn't happy. He thinks that no matter how many suturing methods he learns, it's still just suturing. Rand says he could learn this kind of suturing technique somewhere else too. Then he asks the system whether it can give him something else, like Transformers type powers, or maybe some kind of superpower. The system understands Rand's request, but after a few moments, it refuses. So Rand asks why. The system explains that it is a medical system which can only pass down medical knowledge, and apart from that, it cannot give Ran any other kind of skill. So Ran asks what exactly master level technique means. The system explains that after completing missions, Ran will receive rewards in different categories. These categories go from lowest to highest, starting from novice, and the highest level is perfect. The technique the system just gave Ran is a master level technique, which is the 3rd rank, and the rank after master is perfect. Ran again asks the system whether this means that, for now, it can only give him suturing techniques. The system replies yes. So Ran keeps asking the system even more questions because he wants to see whether there is a real person behind it. Because if you keep asking a human the same questions repeatedly, eventually they'll say something like, "We already told you this earlier." From this, Ran realizes that this system is actually running like a programmed system, not a real human. Now, Ran thinks that he should try out this master level suturing technique and see how efficient it really is. So Ran sits back down in the chair, and from his bag, he takes out a fruit, a banana. He peels the banana using a scalpel, which is basically a small surgical knife, so that he can test out his newly learned skill on it. Ran notices that his hand is now much more stable than before, and he is able to suture the peeled banana skin with a very smooth flow. In just a short amount of time, Ran finishes suturing the entire banana. After that, Ran notices how he perfectly sutured the banana. Now, Ran finally understands that this newbie pack really did turn out to be super useful. The funny thing is, this is only a master level suturing technique, and after that, there's still a perfect level suturing technique too. Ran gets excited thinking about this. Now he starts wondering how much a real professional doctor must have achieved, even without a system. Anyway, now internship day finally arrives at their college, and they all have to do their internships at Yuhua Hospital. 2 of Ron's classmates are extremely excited today. Before the internship starts, there's a ceremony that all the doctors attend. All the new interns are super hyped and excited about their internship day, including Ran's roommates. While everyone is talking, the director of the medical education department, Lai Bishan, arrives along with a well-known surgeon named Kang Ji-yong. The director welcomes all the students and tells them that on the first day of their internship, they will all begin in the practice room. And only after seeing their performance in the practice room will they be given real work. The moment Ran hears the words practice room, he gets a little excited. He thinks the practice room is definitely going to be better than a clinic. All the students now head toward the practice room. The director then introduces everyone to Dr. Kang, a well-known surgeon in the Yuhua Department of Surgery. Dr. Kang has a very cold personality. He tells all the students that he won't tolerate any nonsense here. He explains that to become a surgeon, you need to have very strong skills. So first, he'll start by teaching them the most basic thing, suturing. The moment Ran hears the word suturing, his eyes light up, and of course they would he literally just learned a master-level suturing technique. Dr. Kang then pulls back the curtain behind him and shows everyone an operating room. Dr. Kang tells them that although they might have practiced suturing a lot in school, here they must set aside everything they think they know. And if any of the new doctors think they can just walk straight into an operating room and perform surgery, then they're free to leave the practice room right now. According to the clearance standards, every student will first have to suture the tail of a white mouse. Only then will their qualifications be evaluated. Hearing white mice, some of the interns are really shocked. Every year, Dr. Kang explains the same thing to the new students, and honestly, even he has a soft spot for these white mice, meaning, deep down, he kind of likes them. Dr. Kang then tells everyone that the tail of the mouse has been cut into sections, which makes suturing it even more difficult. Every year, doctors from different provinces come here, and even they fail to meet the requirement of restoring 95% blood flow. And these interns aren't even full doctors yet, so their passing rate is basically zero. After hearing this, many of the interns disagree and refuse to believe it. So Dr. Kang asks all the interns who think they can prove him wrong to raise their hands. Almost everyone raises their hands except Ran. Seeing that Ran didn't raise his hand, his friends ask him, "Dude, we've practiced this so many times. Even if we don't know real surgery yet, we can at least do this, right?" Rand tells his friends that they've only ever practiced on fruit, so doing it on an animal is way harder. Dr. Kang now selects one student. That student quickly takes the opportunity and steps forward into the operating room, then sits down in front of Dr. Kang. The kid is really nervous. The other interns watch closely. Dr. Kang tells him to relax since even the student's hands are shaking badly. But after a little while, the intern still fails the test because he punctures the blood vessels in the mouse's tail. Seeing him fail, Dr. Kang mocks him. And after seeing one student fail, the morale of the other interns drops immediately. Except Ran. Ran keeps watching very carefully, and he figures out why his classmate failed. At that moment, Dr. Kang notices Ran's expression. So he decides to give the students one more chance, and this time, he selects Ran to perform the test. Ran is actually interested in doing it too. So he stands up and walks toward the operating table. Ran is actually interested in doing it too. So he stands up and walks toward the operating table. Meanwhile, the student who went before him is really upset with himself. Seeing how disappointed he is, the other interns start wondering, will Ran even be able to do better? Ran enters the surgery room. The director tells everyone that Dr. Kang will first demonstrate how the suturing technique should be done, so they must all pay close attention. Meanwhile, Ran's friends are also watching him carefully. Ran prepares himself. Then Dr. Kang cuts the mouse's tail into 10 sections and explains that normally they cut it into 60 to 80 segments, but today's situation is a bit special, so they kept it less. Dr. Kang now performs the demonstration and shows how to suture the tail back together. While he's explaining, he notices that Ran isn't really paying attention to what he's saying, and this seriously annoys him. Dr. Kang knows Ran is really good academically, but that doesn't automatically mean he has strong practical skills. So he assumes Ran must just be arrogant. And seeing Ran looking elsewhere instead of focusing on the demo makes him even more angry. Dr. Kang thinks Ran believes theory alone is enough, and that irritates him so much that he decides he's going to teach Ran a lesson. So he intentionally distracts him with conversation and then finishes the demonstration quickly. Because of that, Ran doesn't even get to properly watch the demonstration. He also feels like the demo ended way too fast because he wanted to observe it more. But never mind. Ran now picks up the tools and starts the surgery. He doesn't want to waste this opportunity, especially since he's performing in front of a well-known surgeon. Ran begins suturing with extremely steady hands. His movements flow smoothly as he works. And in just a short time, he successfully stitches the cut part of the mouse's tail. The other interns notice that Ran has already finished the surgery. Even the director is shocked because Ran finished before Dr. Kang himself. Dr. Kang is stunned too because Ran stitched the anatomical points so quickly. He thinks even among surgeons who specialize in microsurgery, only a few in the entire province could finish faster than him. So how could an intern do it? This really bothers Dr. Kang. Ran now tells Dr. Kang that he has finished his work. In his mind, Ran is thinking how easy the master-level suturing technique is to use. Meanwhile, Dr. Kang is shaken. He checks again, but still can't believe his eyes. Ran really did finish the surgery that quickly and perfectly. This is totally unexpected for him. Dr. Kang starts thinking that Ran must have done internships before, probably at some specialist hospital or high-level clinic. That must be why his hand skills are so stable and refined. So, Dr. Kang asks Ran which hospital he previously worked at, since he must have practiced a lot. Ran replies that he mostly helps out at his own clinic. So Dr. Kang asks the name of his clinic. Dr. Kang is shocked when Ran mentions the name of a small place called Lower Groove Clinic. He can hardly believe it. Ran now comes out of the surgery room. As soon as he does, the director asks him if he is really that skilled at suturing. Smiling, the director asks Ran which department he wants to work in for his next rotation. Hearing this, all the interns are stunned because normally, interns never get to choose their departments. Usually, hospitals send different doctors to different departments on rotation as needed, so everyone is shocked. After thinking for a bit, Rand suddenly receives a new mission from the system to treat patients. The mission details say that he must suture the wounds of 10 patients, and as a reward, he'll receive a new suturing technique. This reward suturing method sounds really interesting to Rand since it's something that's commonly used a lot. So, Rand tells the director that he wants to go to the emergency department. Hearing that, the director and Rand's two friends are totally shocked. His friends tell him to think about it more carefully, but Rand explains that he has already thought about it very clearly. A little while later, Rand is in the emergency department, and all he can think about is this mission. Since this task has to be completed within 10 days, Ran, along with the other interns who are assigned to the emergency ward, follows a head nurse. The head nurse tells all of them that they must sit in the lounge and they cannot leave until someone calls them. She also tells them they are not allowed to answer any questions from the patients' families. Saying this, she leads everyone to the lounge. There are already some interns sitting in the lounge, which basically means the hospital doesn't really need the interns yet. So the nurse tells all of them to wait there. All the interns now just sit and start chatting. Some of them don't really know each other yet, so they start talking and getting familiar with one another. Meanwhile, Ran is happily playing his Battle Royale game. While everyone is talking, a department nurse named Wang Jia arrives. She asks whether any of them know how to suture. Since this nurse is really beautiful, all the simp interns immediately try to get her attention. But as you already know, Ran is tall and handsome, so naturally her eyes stop on him. Also, the other intern's facial expressions don't look very professional, which makes Wang Jia ask Ran directly whether he knows suturing. Ran replies, yes. So Ran follows the nurse, and the other interns get confused, annoyed, and jealous watching this. While walking, Ran asks the nurse about the patient's condition. Wang Jia explains that the patient fell from a tree and a broken branch stabbed into her arm, cutting it open. As Wang Jia walks beside Ran, she notices how handsome he is, but she's confused because she has no idea what his actual medical skill level is. After a while, they reach the emergency ward room where the patient is being treated. Right now, a senior doctor named Dr. Gao is already working on the patient's wound. Wang Jia tells Dr. Gao that she has brought a doctor with her, but since Dr. Gao is a little busy, he instead asks her about the medicine he requested. She hands the medicine over, and Dr. Gao begins preparing it for the patient. Meanwhile, Dr. Gao notices Ran's facial expression and realizes Ran is very serious about the situation. Dr. Gao calmly speaks to the patient, telling her that her injury is quite deep. So, before he sutures it, he will need to clean the wound 2 more times. He reassures her not to worry. Nervously, the patient tries to say she won't worry, even though, obviously, she is still scared and tense. Ran notices how calmly Dr. Gao talks to patients. He thinks about how difficult it was just to get out of the lounge, but now he's finally met a doctor who is genuinely good at his job. At the same time, at the back of his mind, Ran also remembers he has a system mission to complete. Ran thinks that if he performs well on this task, he might receive a friend's sass. Really good reward. So, he asks Dr. Gao whether he can handle the stitching by himself. Dr. Gao thinks for a moment, then agrees. He explains that young doctors are often impatient and not very skilled yet, which is why he usually helps the younger ones during operations. But since this is a small procedure, as long as Ran follows the steps one by one, there shouldn't be any problem. Plus, Dr. Gao says that he'll be right there anyway, so nothing major will go wrong. Dr. Gao then leaves the suturing work to Ran and decides to take a quick nap. Since he's still in the room, he figures that if anything serious happens, he'll step in immediately. Barely 2 minutes pass before Ran wakes Dr. Gao, telling him the operation is finished. Shocked, Dr. Gao wonders what he thinks of Ran's suturing skills. But when he hears it was done that fast, he panics. He thinks Ran must have rushed things and maybe messed the operation up just to show off his speed. Nervously, Dr. Gao jumps up to check the wound, only to see that Ran has perfectly sutured the patient's arm. He stares at Ran, thinking that he has worked in the emergency room for many years and seen many surgeons, but never a doctor like Ran who could finish this operation in just 2 minutes. Dr. Gao assumes Ran must be a master level doctor from some big hospital who came here only to gain more experience and improve his medical standards. He has absolutely no idea Ran is just an intern. He completely mistakes him for a professional surgeon. While all this is happening, another nurse runs in crying, telling Dr. Gao that the patient in bed number 3 is in critical condition. They immediately head toward that patient. The injured patient turns out to be a gangster and blood is pouring out of his head. Seeing the doctor arrive, the gangster says, "Finally, the doctor is here. He has already lost a lot of blood." A group of gang members are standing with him and they've been waiting impatiently for the doctor. Dr. Gao examines the wound and realizes the injury is extremely serious. Meanwhile, Ran thinks that by following Dr. Gao, he has now gotten another chance to complete his mission. Dr. Gao tells everyone to move back so he can examine the patient, but the gang members block his way. He nervously pleads with them to step aside. Dr. Gao is terrified because if the surgery goes wrong, the gang might blame him and beat him up. So, out of fear, he asks Ran to handle the operation, still believing Ran is some highly skilled expert doctor. Ran is honestly excited and happy he followed Dr. Gao here, because otherwise he wouldn't have gotten this opportunity. He quickly grabs the tools and tells the gangster to hold still. One gang member, seeing that the main doctor isn't operating, angrily asks, "Why is this substitute doing the work instead of you?" He threatens Ran, saying he's been to many hospitals and none of them could fix this wound. So if Ran messes up this surgery, the consequences will fall on him. But Ran ignores him and calmly continues working. Seeing how smoothly Ran is operating, Dr. Gao gets nervous watching. The gang member notices Dr. Gao's worried face and demands, "Why do you look like that?" Dr. Gao tells him the injury has already been treated. Hearing that, the gangster gets confused. The surgery barely even started. How could it already be finished? He tries to turn around to look, but Ran gently holds his head forward and starts carefully checking the wound. Ran remembers back in medical school, one of his classmates used to stitch banana peels using small dotted stitches, which always looked messy. But the stitches Ran just did on this patient's head look incredibly clean. There's no bump on the patient's scalp, and the wound looks neat. Satisfied with the result, Ran gives the patient a mirror so he can see it himself. Meanwhile, Dr. Gao thinks about how the patient had been talking the whole time, and during that, Ran finished suturing without the patient even realizing it. This is the first time Dr. Gao has ever personally witnessed such a technique. He is extremely impressed. The patient also carefully looks at his head, and he really likes how the suturing looks. Since the surgery finished so quickly, he didn't even realize when it was done. All the stitches are lined up neatly, and the patient is very happy about that. He lowers the mirror and looks at Ran, asking him for his business card because from now on, if anything ever happens to him again, he wants only Ran to treat him. Ran tells him that he doesn't have a business card. He also explains that the patient shouldn't move too much yet since his head hasn't even been bandaged. But because this guy is a gang member, he doesn't really care. He stands up anyway and announces proudly that his head has been stitched perfectly, so he doesn't need any bandage. Then he says that next time he gets injured, he'll only come to Ran. After that, he tells his men they still need to teach someone a lesson, and all of his guys follow him out, meaning the poor guy who injured their boss is in serious trouble now. Seeing them leave like that, Ran tries to stop them. All the doctors around are shocked watching this happen. After they leave, Ran looks at his system window and sees that his task completion has reached 2 out of 10, which means he still has to treat 8 more patients using his suturing skills. Ran thinks to himself that, at this rate, the mission is going to be finished pretty quickly. Sometime later, one of the interns who had been sitting in the lounge goes up to Wang Jia and asks her for work. But Wang Jia tells him that if he's just going to interrupt operations, then he shouldn't follow her. The intern replies that there are lots of injured people here, so he simply wants to help Dr. Gao. Wang Jia explains that Dr. Gao has gone to rest, and everyone he's seeing right now is actually coming to Dr. Ran. Hearing this, the intern gets really angry and asks whether patients are allowed to choose doctors, especially in the emergency department. Wang Jia tells him they can do whatever they want. And obviously, Wang Jia is going to side with Ran because, well, attraction matters, I guess. The intern follows Wang Jia into the room where the same gang leader Ran treated earlier is also present. But this time, he's with a friend. The leader explains that his brother is injured and only Dr. Ran can treat him. Ran gets a little confused, so the other guy, who's also a gang member, explains that he heard Ran's medical skills are excellent. But his own injury is a bit tricky, and that's why he asks Ran, "Can you save my tattoo?" Because the place where he's injured is exactly where his tattoo is. And this guy absolutely loves his tattoo. Ran looks closely at the tattoo and asks whether it's supposed to be a deer. The guy replies that no, it's not a deer. Since he's already had suturing done on this area before at other hospitals, the washing and treatment ruined his tattoo badly. Originally, he did have a deer tattoo, but after getting injured and sutured somewhere else, the tattoo got messed up so badly that he had to get it removed. Then he got a unicorn tattoo instead, but this one has also been damaged because of his newest injury. Ran carefully studies the tattoo, then examines the wound and tells him that the injury is actually quite large. So, if they don't pay close attention to preserving the tattoo during stitching, the tattoo will still become distorted afterward. The guy starts almost crying, saying he doesn't want to change his tattoo, and he doesn't want it removed either. So he begs Ran to help him. Ran begins treating his wound. Just then, the intern walks in and blurts out that Ran is just an intern. Hearing this, the gang member gets irritated and angrily warns the intern that if he keeps interrupting, they'll break his bones. The intern immediately goes quiet. After some time, Ran finishes suturing the wound. The patient himself can't believe how perfectly Ran stitched his skin to the point that you can't even tell the tattoo was sutured at all. His tattoo is saved. The intern watches all this from a distance and he can't believe what he's seeing. He thinks all these people must be blind or exaggerating way too much, because how is this even possible when Ran is just an intern? But when the injured guy turns slightly, the intern finally sees the tattoo and realizes everything they've been saying is true. He thinks to himself that he almost exposed Ran's identity earlier by calling him an intern. Sometime later, Ran completes his system mission by evening. He receives the uninterrupted vertical mattress suturing technique, which is at specialist level. Ran is happy that he finished the entire mission in just one afternoon, and now he's excited to try out this new skill. By evening, Ran returns home. His family runs a clinic called Lower Groove, the same one he mentioned earlier where he works. Seeing him, Ran's father asks why he's dressed like a student and where his white doctor's coat is. His father just wants to see Ran working as a real doctor as soon as possible. Ran's father's name is Ling Ran. He's very excited about Ran's future and he really wants him to become a doctor quickly so he can carry on the family business. But when Ran's father starts talking about business, Ran's mother is not happy at all because he doesn't even ask Ran how his first internship day went or whether he's tired. He just talks about business. Ran's mother named Tao Ping scolds Ran's father for that. Ran's father gives a silly excuse and Ran just quietly listens. Suddenly, a man rushes into the clinic shouting loudly, which startles all three family members. The man has come with someone whose hand is badly cut. Seeing his condition, the other people sitting in the clinic gather around and start talking. Since everyone here is from the same area, they all recognize the guy. He explains that a kitchen knife fell off a chopping board and sliced his hand, and now it's bleeding heavily. Hearing all this, the doctor who works at the Lower Groove Clinic comes in. You might remember that Ran's father wants Ran to become a doctor quickly because he himself doesn't practice medicine. Instead, he hires doctors to treat patients and they charge high salaries, which he doesn't like. This doctor's name is Dr. Shang. He removes the bandage from the patient's hand and sees a deep cut. After looking at it, he tells the man to go to a big hospital for treatment. Ran hears this, and he really doesn't like that the first impression of the Lower Groove Clinic is simply referring patients away. So Ran asks Dr. Xiang whether he can help. Right then, a new system quest pops up saying that Ran's skill will now be tested. The mission details say he must treat the patient, whose name is Mang Cao Shui. If the patient is satisfied with the result, Ran will receive a basic treasure chest. Hearing Ran ask to help, Dr. Shang reminds him that his internship only started yesterday, so how could he possibly handle this? But since the patient is bleeding heavily, Dr. Xiong decides they should at least disinfect the wound. So he calls the clinic nurse Zhuang Jiayi and asks her to bring the disinfectant supplies. Ran watches all of this while wearing his clinical coat. He looks over at the clinic's tools, then washes his hands, thinking that there are enough resources here for him to do the surgery properly and keep the patient satisfied. Seeing Ran wash his hands, Dr. Xiong gets confused. He tells Ran they are only disinfecting the wound, nothing more. But Ran ignores him, sits down, and starts examining the injury. Dr. Xiong says the cut is simple, but since this is a deep wound, the best thing for the patient would be to go to Yuhua Hospital. However, Ran doesn't listen to Dr. Xiong. He tells the patient that the wound is only on his palm and it's not such a serious matter. Hearing this, the people in the clinic feel a bit relieved by Rand's decision, especially because Yuhua Hospital is 6 miles away. And since the bleeding is so heavy, traveling that far would be dangerous. Still, Dr. Xiang keeps insisting that they shouldn't handle the situation themselves. But Ran ignores him and starts preparing for surgery. He asks the nurse to bring medication. Seeing this, Dr. Xiang starts panicking. He keeps trying to stop him. Ran begins stitching the patient's hand while everyone else watches. During the surgery, Ran realizes that the patient probably won't be able to do very delicate work anymore since the patient owns a food shop. Ran says that in the emergency department, suturing tendons might have been difficult, but in the surgery department, this is considered a basic routine procedure. If the patient went to the hospital right now, he would get good suturing, but the overall service would still be very average. And since Rand trusts his own skills, he decided to handle it himself. Slowly and steadily, Rand completely sutures the patient's hand. After the surgery is finished, everyone is shocked because Rand performed a clean surgery. Dr. Xiong carefully inspects the patient's hand and realizes the surgery was flawless. But now he's confused, wondering how Rand was able to do it. Rand starts wrapping the patient's hand in bandages, while the patient is confused, surprised that suturing could be done so easily. Seeing Rand's work, his father is very impressed, and he tells Rand that from now on, he can practice here at their clinic. However, Rand clearly refuses telling his dad that he still has to complete his internship. But his dad says it would be better if Rand helped them at the clinic so they wouldn't have to pay high salaries to other doctors. And of course, this remark is aimed directly at Dr. Sheng. Just then, the patient's son, Yang Gu, rushes in clearly in a hurry. He goes straight to his father and asks why he got his stitching done at such a small clinic. Because his father's job is at stake. If the treatment goes wrong, he won't be able to earn money. The patient tries to explain that the surgery went well here, so there's no need to go to a big hospital, and his son shouldn't panic. But despite that, Yang Gu gets angry at Rand, demanding to know how Rand dared to perform surgery on such a serious injury. Yang Gu tells Rand that if the surgery isn't successful, then Rand's clinic will have to financially support his father for the rest of his life. Rand calmly tells him that the surgery was successful, and if he still has doubts, he's welcome to go to a large hospital and have it checked. Rand then advises him to take good care of his father's wound during recovery because there is a very good chance that his father will be able to work normally again. But when Yang Gu hears the word chance, he becomes even angrier, asking Rand what he means by that. Is Rand implying that his father might never recover? Seeing the situation heat up, Rand's father steps in and explains to Yang Gu that yes, there is a possibility his father may not recover fully. But that possibility is very small since the injury isn't extremely serious or extremely minor, so there's a very high chance his father will go back to normal work. And since the injury wasn't that major, Rand agreed to perform the surgery. Rand's father then tells Yang Gu that he can go to a big hospital and have the surgery evaluated, and if he's satisfied, he can come back later and pay the medical expenses. But even after all this explanation, Yang Gu still isn't interested and leaves after saying some harsh words. And yeah, you probably notice he doesn't even work himself, yet he makes his father work. Honestly, he should feel ashamed. Rand now checks his system and sees that his quest is still incomplete. That means until Yang Gu returns from the hospital with his father, Rand won't receive his reward. Yang Gu now takes his father to a large hospital. Meanwhile, outside the clinic, a biker girl arrives on a motorcycle, apparently looking for the Lower Groove Clinic.